So what was cocaine doing in the White House? Cocaine in the West Wing. Sunday evening, Secret Service discovered suspicious powder. Turned out to be a very illegal drug in a common area of the West Wing, near where the president and vice president have their offices. It was found during a routine search, caused a brief evacuation of the White House, followed by a visit from the fire department. President Biden and his family not at the White House at the time. But again, seriously, how did cocaine get into the White House in the first place? It's supposed to be one of the most secure places in the world. Law enforcement sources told NewsNation the highly trafficked area the substance was located in is within the main lobby of the White House on the ground floor. West Wing tours, which are very exclusive, do have access to this area, along with members of staff and potentially members of the media. The area where the cocaine was discovered is where guests are asked to leave their phones, where people with business in the West Wing are asked to check electronics. According to the Washington Post, guests are asked to leave their phones in small boxes, and officials said the substance was found near those boxes. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre addressed the situation earlier today.
Obviously, we do have West Wing tours that occur here on campus. They happen in this particular past couple of days. They happened on Friday, they happened on Saturday and Sunday. There is investigation. They're going to get to the bottom of this. What I wanted to be very clear is that this is a heavily traveled, to be more accurate, area of the campus of the White House, and it is where visitors to the West Wing come through.
Traveled. Remember, don't use the word trafficked when talking about drugs found at the White House. Look, these staffers go through background checks. They have security clearances. Visitors are supposed to go through security prior to entering the White House. The Secret Service have canine units. They're trained to detect drugs and explosives, etc. Spokesman for the Secret Service said an investigation into the cause and manner of how the substance entered the White House is pending. They're looking over video footage and visitor logs. Let's check in with Jeff Mason, White House correspondent at Reuters. Jeff, thanks a lot for coming on the show. Appreciate it. All right, so do we know anything else about who are considered likely potential culprits?
Not really. We know they're trying to find that out, and I think there's a lot of people who would like to know who it was. I think they have narrowed it down in some ways to whoever was on a White House tour, probably on Sunday night, although in that clip you just played from Karine Jean-Pierre, she also mentioned that there were tours on Friday and Saturday, as well as Sunday over this weekend. And they certainly seem to be sort of directing our attention to the fact that there were tours and that there were visitors who came through that area. But other than that, the sort of indications of who may have been there have been no additional details on specific names or
are there cameras there so that they'll be able, I mean, are they going to be able to review footage and really determine pretty clearly who did it?
So I was told by a source that the Secret Service in its investigation was looking at video footage in addition to looking at the visitor logs. So that would indicate to me that there are cameras. You know, I work at the White House. I work in the press room a lot, and there are places in that White House in the West Wing where I suspect there are cameras that you're just not aware of.
Yeah.
So I can't tell you for sure what the camera situation is in that West Wing lobby, but it sounds like they do have video footage to look at.
Thank you for watching. Go to NewsNationNow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.